Welcome to Future of Flushing. I'm Vito Calisi. With me is Jonathan Barron, and over here to my left is Ronald Hernandez. Now, Ronald, you're playing for the Marlins. You find out you've been traded for a major league player in David Robertson. What does that feel like to get traded for a major league player?
It's very nice because I never imagined that. And I feel very grateful with God for the opportunity, and that's awesome.
You've had a great season so far. You started the year in the FCL, obviously, with the Marlins, and you come over and play for the FCL Mets. Now you're with the Port St. Lucie Mets. But in the FCL, you had the second highest on-base percentage, and you led the league in weighted runs created plus. So you were a very, very productive player at the plate. What helped you be so productive this season?
Jugar para el equipo, eso fue algo que
My main motivation was to work for the team, to push the team to be the best version of myself that I can be, and obviously through hard work and dedication, that's what's been my main motivation and what pushed me, because of my desire to move forward, to be better, to do better.
Pero creo que mi éxito hasta ahora se ha basado en eso, en ese querer ir a más adelante y en querer producir para mi equipo, y creo que eso es lo más que me ayuda este año.
And one thing that stands out about your game is your patience at the plate. More walks than strikeouts. When did you develop that impeccable patience at the plate?
Porque cuando estaba en extended, de todos los...
I always started, being rather successful against fastballs. I got a lot of home runs through that, and then, as the times went by, I guess the pitchers realized that, they need to throw more curveballs and, knuckleballs at me. So I did a little bit of homework, and I realized that, more often than not, I wasn't being as successful as I was against the fastballs. Compared to the other throws, so basically that developed, a sense of me trying to focus on what I'm good at and just basically forcing the pitcher to make the mistake.
Y yo dije, nada, pues solamente voy a esperar que me lancen strike, y cuando me lancen strike, ahí yo voy a swinguear, pero no voy a hacerle swing a los picheos que ellos quieren que yo les haga swing.
Now, you're a native of Venezuela. Another famous Venezuelan plays for the Mets, Francisco Alvarez. Have you gotten any chances to speak with him?
Yeah. En el sprint, este último.
Yeah, I saw him this spring training. We spoke for a little bit, and then I mentioned that it's my intention to stay in Miami around that area to train and work in my off season. Through my catching coach, Hector Alvarez, we're trying to set it up so that I can do some reps with him and just learn from him during the off season.
Pero ahorita mi catching coach, Hector Alvarez, va a tratar de que pueda practicar con él mi off season para aprender lo más que yo pueda de él.
I just noticed while we were talking about Miami, you used to play there. You're wearing a Miami Dolphins bracelet.
Yeah.
Are you a Miami Dolphins fan? Do you get into football?
No. Just before the trade, I went to the Hard Rock Stadium. Yeah, I have Miami Marlins here, and the same day when I went to this clubhouse, I remember I say use.
I flipped the bracelet.
Turned it over.
I took the Marlins one off, obviously noticing that I obviously came to this clubhouse, but then I bought the Dolphins one as well, and then I threw obviously the Marlins one away coming here.
Y eso lo compré y al día siguiente me cambiaron.
Well, we need to get you a New York Jets bracelet next, but we'll work on that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Marlins, as Vito mentioned, the trade that happened, talk about, since you've come over to the Mets, what you've noticed about the Mets player development system, your impressions of the Mets organization as a whole.
Me parece muy bien, algo que...
The main thing I've noticed from a journey from the Marlins and up to here is that the main thing is that the Mets do care about the player as the individual, and they do appreciate the hard work and the dedication that I put in as a player, whether if I have good days or bad days. They don't treat you as, a low-tier player. They don't treat you as, a random player. They do see you as a human being, and they also focus on, the human side of me as a player.
Y hasta los momentos me gusta muchísimo esa parte.
Let's go back to you're 17 years old. You signed your professional deal with the Marlins back then, but that deal was close to $1 million. Closer to $1 million than any deal John or I have ever signed. What does it feel like to sign a deal like that at such a young age?
Se siente como con mucha responsabilidad, ya que muchos ojos están encima de ti.
It was a huge responsibility for me. It is a huge motivator. Obviously, money's not my main motivator, but it was a huge bonus to see that, at such a young age, to see that, I'm going through the right path. And obviously, it was never something that motivated me as far as the money's concerned, but obviously as the possibility of, providing a better future for my family and for myself. And obviously the contract with the Marlins, it was originally arranged when I was 14 years old. So, it was a huge thing, huge responsibility added to the pressure that obviously there's a lot of eyes on me and, to do better, to be better, but that ultimately fuels me to improve as a player.
Y, sabes, y que llegara ese momento, lloré mucho de felicidad.
And before we started this, you told us that the first thing you bought wasn't for yourself, it was for somebody else. Do you want to tell everybody what that first big purchase you made was?
Fue para mi mamá. Lo primero que hice fue le regalé una camioneta.
My first purchase ever was for my mom. It was a truck because I lost my father when I was 8 years old. And, my mom always had memories of my father talking about that specific truck. So the first ever bit of money that I made it sure that it was going to be for her, and every single thing that I do as far as money-wise is concerned, I always make sure the focus more on my mother and my sister.
Lo que podía, pues fue mi primer sueldo, la primera vez que gané dinero en mi vida y mi primer regalo fue para ella y así espero que sea siempre en mi vida, lo mejor que sea para ella.
I know this is kind of a rough transition here from that, but your first year of pro ball was in the DSL. You came over to the States. This is now your second year stateside. And you've made incredible improvements from last year to this year. What lessons did you learn in your first year in the United States that have helped you be so successful in year two since coming stateside?
La verdad, mis emociones, calmar mis ansias. Eso es normal que un pelotero lo sienta.
I think the main thing I've noticed is just obviously working on my mental game, working on how calm I am, working on basically not rushing into any decision, not rushing myself as a player. The main thing I have is obviously have the opportunity to talk to a lot of professionals like Jose Iglesias. Spent a couple hours talking about my mental game, and obviously he lived the dream that I want to live, rather sooner rather than later. So that's been huge for me. It's been a great opportunity, and I can't wait to keep going.
Y creo que eso ha sido fue como una motivación y también muchos consejos que en los momentos malos, es normal que los peloteros tengamos momentos malos, muchos consejos que él me dio que me ayudaron a solamente disfrutar y seguir adelante y jugar, porque es un juego y eso ha sido, creo que mi mayor desarrollo.
Now, you just mentioned Jose Iglesias as shortstop. How about catchers? Who were some catchers that you got and spoke to, or catchers that you really just enjoy watching and you try to model your game after?
He tenido la oportunidad de hablar con Jacob Stallings en los Marlins el sprint training pasado.
I got the chance to talk to a couple of major leaguers of the Marlins, Jacob Stallings. I remember vividly the first thing I told him was, I need you to help me because I want your job. Jacob Stallings. And there's basically, I haven't really had the chance to speak to any Venezuelan catchers, but that's something that's definitely in my books, and that's something that I would love to do at some point soon.
Mayormente siempre están, tú sabes, viajando y esas cosas, pero han sido como las dos personas que yo he conocido y que están en Grandes Ligas y catcher que me han ayudado.
So we're heading into the off season right now. What are some goals you have going into next year?
Mantener mi cuerpo.
Be healthy, work on my body, get more toning up my arms, and get stronger with my legs, and just overall be fit and healthy for next season.
Fortalecer mis brazos, mis piernas y estar saludable para todo el año.
And the Marlins and the Mets are in the same division.
Yeah.
Marlins signed you, they traded you.
Yeah.
You keep that in the back of your mind? You want to prove them wrong? You want to prove that the Marlins made a mistake by trading you away?
Sí.
We'll leave it at that.
No puedo decirle porque
It'd be easier for me to say yes, but obviously I would rather let my actions do the talking. So, yes.
One last question. You and Marco were traded together, Marco Vargas. Did that make it easier, the transition coming? I mean, you guys drove from Jupiter to Port St. Lucie, coming together and knowing someone already here on the team?
When from the moment we found out, it was rather special because we woke up early that day. Obviously, we had the chance to say goodbye to our former teammates, and it was rather a nervous morning for all of us. We were focusing, on improving on, just leaving a good image with our previous organization, and just obviously while we were, put all our things in the car and we started driving, and as we were driving, it was kind of a surreal experience because we all realized that wow, we're no longer Marlins players, now we're Mets, and then as we got here to Ports Lucy to the parking lot, we realized, wow, it's happening. It's real. So, we were quite thankful that we knew most of the guys over here because we played against them on a regular basis. So it was quite easy to fit in and to, join the organization without any sort of issues.
Who controlled the music?
Everybody. I don't know. Nick Moravito.
Nick Morabito.
Yeah, every time he put Rihanna.
They all love Rihanna. Everyone. So we've spoken to a lot of your teammates, both on the FCL and PSL side. Everyone loves Rihanna. Is she she's a favorite here, right?
I think.
Yeah, seems so.
I hear Rihanna every day.
Well, we're going to ask Marco a question about you, just to tell us a funny story. But do you have a funny story about Marco that you'd like to tell us?
De Marco.
See.
Marco, I got a lot of stories.
pero buena.
With Marco, I got a lot of good stories. Obviously, he went through a lot as a player to be signed, to get to where he's at in his career, and it's, nothing but admiration for him. But yeah, it's just mostly just good stories overall.
Es como inspirador eso.
Well, we're excited to watch both you and Marco write the rest of your story. Very young, but so much talent. So thanks a lot for taking the time to join us, and best of luck this offseason. We'll see you next spring training.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.